So this next question, you're not directly connected to it, but you've got the legal background to answer this question. The Justice Department, as you probably know, or taxpayers, I should say, are now defendants in a lawsuit charging President Trump with lying about an alleged rape. It's legally complicated, but the bottom line is that Trump successfully moved the case from a state court where he was about to be forced to produce DNA to the federal court. Does this move have legal grounding, do you think?
Well, I'm not sure about that, Janet. We'll see that play out, of course. But, I think this just underscores once again that we have another instance of the President of the United States subject to serious allegations. And this, unfortunately, is what we've been dealing with. And as an Attorney General, I have been in court against him so many times, simply to get him to follow the law, to follow the Constitution, to work in the face of his actions and, frankly, the really disturbing actions by U.S. Attorney General Bill Barr, who has undermined faith in the rule of law, who is engaged in his own abuses of power. We need to restore normalcy. We need to restore attention to the law and to principles and to the Constitution. And regardless of party and power, those things really must abide. And, sadly, we've gotten so far afield from that over the last few years.
So let's play the if game. Are you ready now? Here we go. If Joe Biden wins in 7 weeks and he is looking for an attorney general, would you like to be on the short list?
To be honest, Ed, I cannot think beyond November. This election is so important, and the work we need to do to make sure the vote is protected in New England, in New Hampshire, up in Maine. I'm in regular conversation with the Secretary of State. His team has, I think, done a great job and continues to work very hard. This election is it. And as I talk to my colleagues, particularly in battleground states around the country, I know that the focus needs to be right now on doing everything we can to secure free and fair elections. So that's what I'm going to continue to talk about and hope, pray that we have a new administration so that we can be in a better place going forward as a country.
And I'll state the obvious, but we're obviously challenged by the pandemic that still has a grip on us and this country.
And it will. This is going to continue through 2021, the ramifications through 2022, 2023. The next president will inherit a great deal of responsibility. In addition, we are having an incredibly important moment in this country around racial justice and confronting that. And I'm so proud of, I look at the WNBA, the NBA, out there on it. These are pressing issues. People will continue to be taking to the streets, demanding justice. That needs to be responded to. In addition, we've got serious issues, economic issues related to COVID as we move through the next year or more, and that's going to require serious work and collaboration between and among local, state, and the federal government. And I can tell you that this country needs true leadership from the top, true partnership with the federal government, and that's what I'm going to be working my tail off between now and November.
You have been a leader on so many issues, pulling together all the attorney generals from across the country. And from just your answer just here, it sounds like you might be interested in being at the very, very head as the U.S. Attorney General. No?
Well, I'm interested in making sure that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are elected, because if we don't do that, it's hard for me to fathom how we're going to move forward as a country. And, it's sad for me to say that, but that's just how serious things are right now. I see it every day in the needs of the people of our state. I see it in the needs of the people across this country. And we have got to make sure we do everything to secure a free and fair and election.
Our thanks again to Massachusetts Attorney General Maura Healey for joining us on The Record.